All right, welcome to the KK Collision Black Swamp Football Show. This week we are joined by Liberty Center Youth Football folks. Scott Barrett, Todd Spangler, Tori Strock, and I'm Wingraw. Scott, Todd, thank you guys so much for doing this. It's always an interesting topic to me. How are you getting kids involved in your football program? You guys do it as well as anybody. Scott, you and I have talked about this for years. For years and years and years. And I drive by the school for your youth camps, and you don't do it one day, you do it two. What is going on here, and why are you guys so prolific with your youth football program?
Can I say something before we get into this?
Go ahead.
I mean, this is like old home week here for me. You know, now Todd was younger than me, but Scotty, growing up, before the inception of all these outstanding organizations like this one, we were self-made in the yard. Scotty would create these games with all these rules depending on where we were. If we were at Bonnie's Beauty Shop, or we were up in the tennis court, or we were in the side yard. And he was the innovator, and we just followed. And so to be here with my good friend and kind of mentor.
You're a little shaken up right now.
Dude, it's time, you know, the days are long, but the years are short. The days are long, but the years are short, and it goes fast. And I just can't believe I'm sitting here by this. What was
the old game you guys created back in the day that you played?
Well, there's a couple. There was like Kill the Man, where you throw the ball up, you get it, and everybody just mauled everybody. That was a deal. I mean, and we had some other things where we were one-on-one, and we would Mel Blunt kind of thing, throwing guys to the ground. He was wearing a Dexter Bussey uniform. Dexter Bussey, number 24, Detroit Lion great, when they were winning 2.5 games a year. So he was a Lion guy when they weren't worth a darn, and he was still that guy showing up, number 24, right?
Dexter Bussey.
Bussey. He got a Rick Kane uniform, number 32, right? Rick Kane, Al Bubba Baker. Yeah. I mean, there's an old Lion boy right there. But we did. We played in his grandma's yard, in the backyard, and got dudes together when it snowed and created all kinds of different games. Like Rex played that whole flashball deal. It wasn't always traditional football, but it was a lot of physicality. And he showed up with pants and thigh pads and everything else, and just took a beating. Not to get too far off topic here, but were you part of the Rex badminton days, both of you, or not?
We were. Yeah. No match. Yeah. The big fella could move. I'm not going to make any. He'd smoke me.
You know, we had rivalries with Rex, Jeff Jurasic, Shannon Weimer, myself, Matt Vollmer, that group. And he didn't move as well, but what he did, he made you move.
Yeah.
It was deep. It was short. It was deep. And you're just all over the place. He just killed you. I mean, he was just precision. He could play for Korea in the Olympics. He's a little big to be a Korean person, but you know, Korea, Japan, China, the badminton's big there. He's pretty good. Rex Slinger, pretty good.
And these guys will confirm. You mentioned the Rex flashball days. And Todd, what year did you graduate, Todd?
2000.
Okay, so you weren't too far behind.
Describe flashball, because people are out there listening like, what is flashball?
So flashball is football, except you can throw a forward pass anytime, down the field, backwards pass, forward pass. You can keep the ball moving at any time. Okay, and so you know the goal was score a touchdown, but that was back in the day where you still went shirts and skins. Now they'd throw you in jail. Now kids got to have pennies that are different colors, you know, and but back in the day, Rex would split up the teams and you had shirts and skins. And if he wanted a piece of you, you'd be skins. And so it was two-hand tap, but if Rex knew you, he would put it on you. And so you go home with handprints.
Yeah, the 5 stars.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of 10 and 5-star. It was your skins, Barrett, and it was a lot of that. A lot of bear pawing on the old lat back in the day.
And you know, if you went home and took your shirt off and you know, your parents saw a handprint or something, they didn't think anything of it.
Big deal.
Didn't think anything of it, you know.
Today you're going to the Supreme Court for abuse. Yeah. You're going straight to the Supreme Court for the 5-star.
Good stuff. I still got the marks probably too. So.
And then
Those are scars you have.
And then when you play floor hockey, he'd body check you. You remember
Sure.
the old bleachers in Liberty that were covered with that wooden panel?
Oh, yeah.
Rex would body check you, all 300 and whatever pounds at the time. He'd just put it on you and put you into that because it gave a little bit. They were like hockey boards. And floor hockey.
We did a lot of stuff in PE and all that I think sharpened the metal and the toughness. You see the practices in the weight room and all the things that Rex did, but I think that whole sequence of gym class was hyper competitive, and he could identify talent, and he made up games, and he would punish you. And it was all fine, because I think it all worked out for us, and we look back on that, and here we are spending 6-7 minutes on him taking advantage and abusing us.
Do we need to do a separate segment on all of this?
We could.
Got to turn his mic off, because there's a lot of non-truths that will be flying. But.
So I had to interrupt
No,
there
you're good.
and just kind of lay a little bit of the foundation. And I think some of the things we just quipped about here offer listeners a little bit of insight on kind of our roots and kind of where Liberty Center is today. It didn't happen by accident. It's always been kind of a mentality here, and Rex Lindgren kind of set the stage, I would say, right?
For the modern day, I mean, the Norm Deckers and Ron Rollinses and those guys and Minor Kirchners, and Len, you're a historian. I mean, this was a football town only. We're like in the business of football, and beyond that, we have Piznellos, and we got a nice library, and beyond that, it's back to football. Todd, am I wrong? I mean,
No,
we got
100%.
nice things here, nice people, but we have farms, Piznellos, a library, and the rest of it is corporate football, and that's what we do. And that wasn't invented by Rex. That was probably Minor Kirchner and all that. So Madame Strock was here. She'd give us a lesson on football in the 1900s because she knew it.
Now, he took his team to Notre Dame, right, on the train, is that correct? Was that Minor?
Yeah, Minor Kirchner, he did that, and it was a big thing for him, and that's kind of like, that's just what historians talk about, but, that's something that I think was just ingrained.
The Newt Rockne days?
The whole thing, and he believed in that. Newt Rockne was it, and remember, Minor Kirchner, was playbook in that guy, so that's it.
Wow.
Hall of Famer.
Who were your idols growing up in this community? We'll start with you, Todd. Who were maybe the football players that you looked up to and maybe wanted to be like someday?
Yeah, so I mean, most of it started like the 91, 92, 93 runs, obviously going to the playoffs and making deep runs, but then probably 6th grade when we made it to, Massillon, lost in overtime, but going down there and watching Chris Ward, Keith Kern, Rex Miller as a sophomore playing quarterback, and all those guys, Josh Carter, and some of those big boy linemen back in the day were fun to watch.
You always wanted to be a lineman.
I did, yeah. That was kind of my thing. So watching those guys, and I think that's what kind of, 6th grade year when we went to, Massillon for the first time, I mean, that was something, seeing that big stadium and the big stage. I mean, those playoff games are special, and, that kind of sets you up for junior high and high school, I guess, so, yeah.
I had a couple eras because my grandma lived in town, Lorraine Evans, and she would drop me off at the games in the late 70s and 80s. And I a little bit like Mike Vickers, I idolized Jim Meeker. And I know that Mike talks about Jim Meeker and those good years that we came out of the 70s, in the mid-70s, late 70s, it was rough around here for that little stretch, and Jim Meeker turned things around. In terms of heroes, when you watch the game, Roger Weeks, one of the greatest offensive linemen of that 1980 team that went and played Tiffin Calvert and got beat, but that was a great player. And I like Mark Mueller, who was a guard tackle too. Just that whole offensive, Casey Van Order, Chris Rollins, that whole offensive line. Just move people around. You love Schwartzlander and Bodenbender, and that whole 80 team was remarkable. And it was Orange Crush, and it was downtown, and it was being covered by the Blade. And when you're 10 and you're 9 and Jim Meeker's letting you be on the sidelines with these guys, you're like, are you kidding? Roger Weeks was as big as his barn, meaning he was 6'4", 270. He was a 4.0 student. He was a 30 ACT. Mark Mueller was phenomenal. And, that's that. And then in my playing career, Chad Hefflinger was just everything. Like, when I got to coach Derek Hefflinger and And Brian was like, you're good, but you don't know what, this Chad Hefflinger dude played on some bad teams, and he was a bad dude.
Yeah.
So Chad Hefflinger would be the guy I think about. But yeah, there's a lot of guys, that for a lot of years that were great. His eras, those were fantastic years that I got to coach and watch, and we got a lot of good stuff going on here historically.
Go ahead, throw in your 2 cents.
As far as my idols, it was Jeff Jurasik, Scott Barrett, and those were the two. Tim Spieth, Shannon Weimer, Tim Keller.
Tim Keller.
And you had Barrett and Keller. Barrett was 50. Timmy Keller was 51. You remember their numbers. Todd Dean was number 2. Jurasik was 8. Shannon Weimer was 25. He might have changed his number later.
No, he was 25.
25. Tim Spieth was 3, I think. Mike Bonner was 22. Andrew Leatherman was 80. I could go on and on and on and tell you because it was just. Growing up, we didn't have a whole lot, I'll be honest with you. And so you had each other, you had the pickup games, and then you had Friday nights. And that kind of made life complete, I think, for us. And so I was in 7th grade, Scott's junior year, okay, when Doug Lou caught the pass to win the game down here in the corner. And then the Mud Bowl I talked about in our podcast, I was in 8th grade, and Scotty and Jurasik and those guys were seniors, and they knocked us off in the Mud Bowl. And so then in 91, when Normie was a senior and I was a junior, it had to happen, Archibald had kind of a stranglehold on things, but that was it for me. And believe it or not, all the names Scott mentioned, I remember. Now, I was younger than him, but I remember Mike Swartzlander, just busting helmets. He was unbelievable. And it's crazy because this summer, I was delivering for Maumee Valley Group, and I'm at a factory in Angola, Indiana called Vestal Manufacturing, and there's a gentleman working there. And this guy, I got talking to him a few times over the summer, and we started talking football and told him where I was from. He said, "You remember Mike Swartzlander?" And I go, yeah. I said, he kind of set the tone for Liberty Center football. And he said, we played together. I didn't know Mike came from Defiance.
Right, came in from Defiance.
And he said if we'd have had Swartz in high school, he goes, we'd have been virtually unbeatable. But when Swartzlander left, he took his toughness and edge with him to Liberty Center, and they were never the same. But, yeah.
And Mike Vickers was on some of those teams, those 79, 80, 81, and Jim Meeker. I got kicked out of typing class with Roger Gardner, and at that time his office as the principal was right off the typing class. You may have remembered that. And he said, "Hey, you got thrown out. You're going to get an incomplete in typing." And I'm like, "All right, I was a 2.1 student at best, right?" And he's like, "But what we're going to do we're going to watch film." And I'm like, Jim Meeker watching film. So you get the 8mm, and he would show Bone Bender and Swartzlander just tearing the lungs out of people, and you're like, your jaw is like, dropped, because that's just left such a mark. And, Jim had a style of the way he was an orator and a motivator, and Liberty Center football is just in the DNA. Like, I'm dead, it's there. Like, you can't get it out of there. I think Todd feels the same way. It's just in there. It's a part of us,
Those are the games that we watch before the game. Usually Casey puts on an old film, usually anywhere from 88 to 92, 93. Those are always the games that are on. And most of us coaches are out there watching them too, just because those are the fun. I don't know, it's just a different era, and it's fun to watch. It's violent, very violent.
Well, a little different than today's game.
Yeah.
A little bit different.
Well, two of the best teams in Liberty Center history, the 87 and 88 teams, Scott's junior and senior year, didn't have a chance to make the playoffs because of the way it was back then. His senior year, they were 9-1, with the only blemish coming week 10 to Archibald, and they don't get to play in the postseason. I still remember Channel 11 had a video as Liberty Center's turning in the equipment, and they interviewed Coach Lindgren, interviewed Tom Moeller, and but it wasn't uncommon. Van Buren had a 10-0 team the year before that didn't get in, so that was kind of commonplace. And boy, to think of what some of these teams could have done in this era. I mean, those were good teams that didn't get a chance.
Rex will tell you that 88 team was one of his best teams, if not the best.
Team was unbelievable.
Well, and there's a whole probably episode that you could have a roundtable on the playoffs and what it meant then. and what it took to get in, and now it's a basketball NCAA silliness, 16 teams, which I'm completely against, and making the playoffs used to be a kind of a deal. Now it's just, now you're risking players, won't get in up. That's something you may want to think about as an episode, because back then, there were teams that didn't get in like us that I know we would have done some serious damage. In 1 year, Archbold wins the state championship, wins it by 30 against Mogador. We were the best. I felt like we were the best team in the league that year. So, I'm biased, of course, but.
Right. Yeah.
Well, they were good.
The Swanton, what was the Swanton team in the late 70s? They gave up, I think, 10 or 12 points the whole year, lost one game and didn't get in.
Ridiculous.
Come on.
And Dave Hansbarger.
Yeah.
That lived, and it lives in us when you don't make, and he played on some of the greatest teams of all time and got in and did damage. So that's a part of what fueled the enthusiasm for youth football, was the desire to want to share all of that heritage and legacy with the young players. Because if they felt the way Todd does about watching 88 and the way I do about 1980 and 79 and Jim Meeker and Minor Kirshner and all those stories, it's much more than just flag football. It's like DNA, like we are inserting DNA in these kids, and they feel almost an obligation to live up to that legacy as pre-K kindergartners when we start, because they're hearing about that stuff. We're telling stories about the greatest players of all time, and they get up to this level and they're like, yeah, I got it. And so they're indoctrinated in this game early on, and that's the beauty of what we've done with youth football. I think, Todd, you would agree. They're just, they love it.
Yeah. We get kids down there obviously now helping out now and again, and they see a jersey and they're flocking to them. So it's good stuff. But
why is football different in Liberty Center? If you go to the MAC, that's how it is down there.
It is.
I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings here, but Liberty's different. You're as close to what the MAC is as anybody that we cover, dare I say. Just the way the community embraces it, and you have the coffee club here every Saturday morning. You have porch coaches.
You got the great elevator. There's 8-10 guys up there.
Yeah. And
like Saturday morning and then Monday morning.
Yeah. In March, they're talking about football.
Right.
Why is that? Can you put that into words for us?
Todd and I have different experiences, but we share a lot of the same ideas. But when your community is so small and intimate, and there is so many connecting points within families, like there's 6 or 7 surnames that go back 5 and 6 generations here, and they all did this. They all farmed, they all worked, they all played football, and they didn't do a lot of other things. And we isolate and focus. It's in Chuck Noll talked about singleness of purpose. That's why those Steeler teams in the 70s were.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but you also had the Old Timers League here.
And Saturday nights.
Yes.
So this place was packed. Tiger Stadium was packed on Friday night. Standing room only, ringing around and then you had all those old stars, Terry Miller. I'll go on and all those guys. And that was a fun thing. I saw all that. They were hitting and playing, and then you Ohio State Saturday, and you got the Bengals Saturday night, then you got the Browns and the Lions, and the Sunday. It was just, that's all we did. Like, that's all we did on weekends. I don't know what you did. That's all I did was football.
Yeah.
We played on Saturday mornings in the snow. We played during basketball. That's all we're doing here all year long.
Yeah.
Anything that Tori or Todd that you have to add?
I would just say, I don't know that you could put a pinpoint on it, like why it is, but I go everywhere and that's all they talk about. And then it might be January, like in the middle of basketball season, and I'm at church and we're talking about who's coming back and who's going to play this position, from Jim Leatherman or somebody like that at church who's just ordering me like, hey, who do you think's going to be the QB? Or, just little stuff like that. Like it goes on and on. I don't know that you could put a pinpoint on why it is, but
it's all those things.
Yeah, it is.
Collectively, all those things,
Yeah, and the only thing I would add is, talk about the Bengals, called it old timers, Rex, when Rex got to town, he was fresh-faced out of Ohio Northern. Rex was a fullback on that old timers team, and he was an absolute one-man wrecking crew. You know what I mean?
Well, porch coaches, the guys there, I don't know if it was Carl Carter, I shouldn't say who it was, but Rex had run over his own teammates.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
He took more pride in punishing his own teammates than he did the opponents.
Well, we got a guy like that in Waylon Rentz who ran over Garber in a scrimmage against Rogers, and Garber's helmet was 12 yards. And you could have missed him. He decided to find color instead of avoid it. I mean, there's some guys that still play like that today, and I think that's another thing that we're corporate football here. I mean, it's our business. And even when we were bad, it was our business. That's what we do.
And so one of Rex's favorite terms he used to use, it was legal discomfort. You know what I mean? Legal discomfort. And Rex he's a masochist himself. He liked to hurt other people, not maim them, but hurt them. And he didn't mind getting hurt himself. You know what I mean? It kind of fueled him. And then my dad was the announcer. Bird Dog was the announcer for the old timers, and so I'd sit up in the press box and spot for him, and old Skip Miller, would come up there, and I remember the one game, they started the game, and it was like, the 80s movie, The Best of Times, with Robin Williams and Kurt Russell? So the Bengals are playing here, and Rick Miller's on the sideline in street clothes, and that was the buzz, because Rick Miller was the star quarterback, and he's in street clothes. Well, they're losing at halftime, and they go in the locker room, they come out, and Rick's dressed, and he's warming up on the sidelines. That's an honest-to-God true story. And everybody's like, oh, he's warming up, he's going to play. And it reminds me of that movie when they replay that game, Taft versus Bakersfield.
And they're hitting the heaters and the cola, and it's a whole thing, like North Dallas 40. It's all these dated references, but yeah, I mean,
they would do the big banquets.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They would because Coors would not ship east of the Mississippi. So they would B.A. Miller would take his semi out there, and they'd load that thing up with Coors for the banquet on Saturday night after the games. That's what I've heard.
Hans Barger at Swanton and Rex were great friends, and Coach Fisher, they had the chicken barn over there. They get the beer out, do the same things. There were a lot of community similarities, but he would say to me, you guys take it, this is a life or death operation at Liberty Center. Like, you lose a football game, and your weekend has ended. There's not a lot of good news after a loss on Friday. We don't lose much now, so we're in a good mood a lot. But I was a part of an 0-10 team, and I drank a whole bottle of NyQuil because I just got so beaten up, and I was horrible, and we were bad. And so coming from the ashes of a dead program to where we're at now, where Casey and that staff does such a good job, and youth football's feeding that thing, man. And we have a junior high group coaching staff that just retains those kids. We don't lose them. We gain bodies. It's rare. Tori, I don't know what your experience of that is, but you always lose guys going, I'm scared to death to play as a freshman. We're getting guys coming out. So not only is it retention, but it's like we're adding numbers from 6th to 7th, which is a traditional time where you lose numbers. We're gaining numbers just because of, I think, just the whole philosophy of what we're doing and the way this staff treats the kids and keeps them healthy. And Rex Lindgren didn't really factor that in a whole lot. So those 40-man rosters we talk about, but that's another huge reason why we have 73 kids in this roster is the way they're treated. They're just treated so well,
Yeah, Bloody Your Buddy, and you remember Bloody Your Buddy and those hamburger drills. And I think Rex, looking back, did it as much for his enjoyment as he did, to build a football team. But he got a kick out of it. Every practice started with full go, kick return.
Full go, huh?
Full go, man. And if you're on one of those scout units, you're going, oh, Jesus.
Well, yeah, the freshmen are out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were. And
here's the deal, though. These guys, the Spanglers and Howes and Casey and Nick Miller and all those, Ryan Miller, and we go on and on. They all did that, right? So they're like, so much of that was so good. But then in today's, we want to keep kids and we want to go deep, and you got to be ready for a 16-week season. That's what this staff does so well. And we think we start that in youth. We don't go too long. We don't go too hard. We have a limited calendar. We keep it super light, and it just drives hunger, and they just enjoy that part of it. Instead of starting in July and playing the Super Bowl, youth, Evergreen come over here and just drill us, and Barrett, what's wrong with your fifth graders? I don't know where you hang the fifth grade banner at, but Evergreen's got a bunch of them, we got none. I think Todd is like 3-38 in 5th grade Super Bowls when we would scrimmage Evergreen. They would like, what is wrong with you? Like, nothing. We love this, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. I mean, when we started this, I mean, this was like, what year are we on?
2010, this is 15 years.
Yeah, so 15 years ago, I mean, like, going back to the start of the youth football, if we want to talk about that, like,
Well, if you're done with reminiscing,
never
any
done.
other questions before we get into what this whole
the
show
right
was
transition.
supposed to be about? I got to get a break in here too.
We-
But are you
We scratched the surface. I think we laid a decent
Okay.
foundation. Not what I would have liked,
4 or
but
5
that's
hours,
okay.
maybe, if that.
That's the problem.
And then we can get going.
okay? And we take a break here, pay some bills, and we'll get into the youth football here at Liberty Center. KK Collision is a leader in the auto repair industry that has been servicing Northwest Ohio's auto needs for over 27 years. We offer a fast and reliable repair option that stands above the competition. When your vehicle enters our facility, you can be assured that you have chosen the most technologically advanced repair facility in the area. KK Collision is an automotive body and mechanical shop, as well as both a light and heavy-duty towing service located in Liberty Center. Our towing services cover Northwest Ohio and the surrounding area 24 hours a day. Are you in need of a repair estimate? Visit us anytime during business hours for a free estimate at T556 Ohio 109 on the north side of Liberty Center, or call 888-533-7801 or visit our website at kkcollision.com. Thank you to Kyle Kern for his support on our football show, and it's people like Kyle that have supported football in this town and
Big
what's
time.
made it a
time.
part of what it is. And you sent me the list of the guys that kind of got this started, and they've all been supporters of football here for, I haven't lived in this community long. It's only been 7 years, so you guys know better than I do, but I've heard the stories, and, Norm Zider, Nick Miller, yourself, Kerry Crew, Dave Moeller, all guys that have been instrumental.
And then your second
Seb
year,
Orr.
and Todd Spangler came
Todd
on a year
Spangler,
too.
yeah.
And they've stayed through when some guys have dropped out and stayed with it. I mean, Todd Spangler coaches every youth sport, every hour of the day.
That's true.
He's working 3rd shift, 2nd shift, 1st shift. I call him on the phone and wanted, how you doing? Hey man, I'm doing good. I gotta go. I got stuff to do. Like, that guy right there is buried in youth sports around here.
It's all right.
Let's go way back to when this got started, because you had youth sports before you guys kind of got involved in 2010. What was the youth football organization like before you guys started what you have now?
They had a lot of stuff going on, and guys like Kurt Davis and a lot of the guys coached it. A lot of old good Liberty players coached it, and then liabilities and different things happened where you needed insurance to tackle, and it just got to be kind of expensive. And so they kind of evolved into a 4th through 6th grade deal where it was, they called it flackle, where they geared up fully, which was good because the kids like to gear up. It allowed them to play kind of physical, but they put flags on. And so they were doing some of those things, and Todd Purdue and those guys were putting things together. But we were just thinking that we need to get together and regenerate and start sooner and take the emphasis off, like winning championships and playing in leagues and all the heavy youth that you see today that begin to turn a lot of people off. And so 2010, I hosted a lunch at my house, 25 legends, Todd's one of them. Fed them 12-ounce hamburgers. And had
How come I didn't get invited to
Well, I
this?
don't know, you were 12, probably 13 back then, I'm not sure. And we had some cold beer, and I just said, hey, we need to do, because we had some small classes.
Well, I can remember, even going further back, so I was coaching with Rex right out of college, so I coached for about 6-7 years there, and he called me, and I was like, my kids were really young, and I was like, we need to do something with the youth program, and I was like, okay, but at the time, I was coaching, and we had freshman teams, and I was doing that, and we were 15, and it was 13.
Yeah.
Then it was 10, and we were pulling 4 sophomores to play a freshman game. Then it was 7, and it was kind of like, man, you're right. And we'd, at the end of the season, we'd be watching junior high games with 12 kids out there, 1 sub on the sideline, you know what I mean? And it was like, pretty eye-opening that, yeah, I mean, we're missing kids and, something has to change. So, I mean, I think, going back to that meeting, I mean, that was, at the time, I thought it was crazy, but then, I mean, here we are 15 years later, and I mean, it was a rough start. I mean, it wasn't...
78 kids, maybe not.
I mean, it was, and I mean, but, I mean, you can go on from there, but I mean, the meeting kicked off, and then things it was a rough transition, I would say, just to put it nicely, you know what I mean? Just starting with nothing, but, and then I kind of came in year 2, and I don't know. I mean, the ball got rolling, and it snowballed rather quickly.
A lot of events had kind of come to confluence at that time, and we started soccer, which is fine, and the concussion issues and all the national media on ALS and all that stuff, and there were a lot of worried parents about, like, we're going to go run cross country, which is a great sport, and we're going to go play soccer, and we're going to do all these things, and the MAC has certain sports, some sports they don't have in the fall, so they're much more focused on the core sports. Well, we got participation driven at the high school level, which I think is good, net good, but it hurt football in my view. And so we just said, listen, we need to put together something that's easy, affordable, easy on the parents, fun, fundamentals, tell the stories, get them out of there. And parents started to buy and keep it affordable. And parents started to buy into that. First year was like 78 kids, and then all of a sudden people started talking about it. And the year 2 was 112, and then year 3 about 150, and then year 4 now we're talking 5 communities that border Liberty, kids coming from Pioneer, Ohio, because it was nice.
So you didn't put a border on it?
We didn't. We just said, we got to play. We just want to play. And those early years, we had to do some different things and be flexible. We tightened that thing up as we went. And Napoleon kids came over, and Hambler kids, so it was a great thing. Because I think they were attracted to less intensity, less money, less time, and just make it nice. And it was a nice thing. Like you would think, Todd Spangler, me, and Nick Miller, and just a bunch of tough guys, and it wasn't like that at all. We were just really having the kids having a ball, and they would go home and say, this was fun. And they would tell their friends, and all of a sudden, everybody else is coming to have fun. So I think that start was a struggle. So we all went to where the inventory wasn't, and said, okay, we got to gear up. And we opened this old shed door and about fell off with a spider web on it. And it was like being held, and there's a couple helmets in there, man, that weren't from the 80s, and we're like, where in the world are we? So we had to get to work to get the pads and the safety and insurance policies, and that's why the business community, because we had to keep it affordable, and that's what attracted. It was the fun, the affordability, the pleasantness of the whole experience. So that was the start of it. And those guys, those old legends that came to our house, a lot of them couldn't do it. They were young, they had coaching work response, but they all had good ideas. They're all Liberty guys, and all the Liberty guys came together and gave good ideas. And to bring 25 old great Liberty guys at the house cost me a few $100, but it was worth it. It was good. And we got Todd and Zeb Orr, who have really taken it from there the last 3 or 4 years and just made it such an efficient operation.
Do you know what % of your elementary kids were involved in it back then? And what % are now involved? And I'm sorry, I'm putting on you a spot.
No,
I'm just curious.
It's a big number, Todd.
It's a big number. I mean, you look at, like this year we have 45 in the 5th and 6th grade, and I mean, there's other kids doing other things, but I mean, there's, we probably have classes of 60, 70 total. So, I mean, when you have 25 boys a grade playing, we're getting a big chunk of them. And, back to when we started, my favorite start of the year was the transition time from what we were doing before. Day 1, Scott would have a parents meeting, and he would stand on the table and basically grill the parents of, this is how we're going to do this, and this, it's not like last year, and this is how it's going to be. And they were all just staring at him, looking at him like probably scared to death, but he would just hammer them on, this isn't like last year, and this is how it's going to be from here on out. And it was fun to watch.
I remember that first meeting we had, I got on the tailgate of the truck, and I said, okay, I screamed, everybody over here, and the parents were excited about it, and our coaches were all excited about it, and there's just this 80, 90, 100 parents and kids, and I'm like, first of all, this is going to be fun, and we're not going to go win championships in first grade, and we're going to do it our way, and you're going to love it, and so we don't need you here overseeing operations and talking to coaches and getting your kid to be the quarterback. All that's out the door, because everybody's going to play everything.
There's no daddy ball.
They're going to drill everything. And that's how we played our first games.
Yeah.
They rotated positions. They got to learn everything from a real base. And so there wasn't a superstar here and a dedicated drafted team. It kind of got that way. We tore all that infrastructure down. And I probably had a little blowback. Like, that guy's up there barking at me. I'm paying this guy to yell at me. But I think we kind of generally moved on from that, and it got to be a kind of a family thing. It was kind of nice.
Well, it's hard to do, because society now tells us that if you're not traveling year-round and you're not keeping up with the Joneses and then you're falling behind. There's become this facade that's what you've got to do, and if you follow Scott, and I'm sure you do, if you follow Scott, he's very outspoken about the direction of youth sports and how we need to get back to our roots and fundamentals and not playing 100 games a year. He's very well spoken and has a lot of conviction, and Scotty, more people are with you on that than you realize, and there's parents that are with you on that and with us on that, but they're afraid to take the plunge because they're going to fall behind because their kid's not traveling every weekend, and so it just becomes a competition. And even if they can't afford it, they'll take out a second mortgage so they can play on this travel team because the neighbor kid's doing it. And it just doesn't have to be that way.
Youth sports are crumbling from the inside out. The motivations are different. And I think that's what our group really focused on. What was our motivation? We wanted kids to participate in this great game, and we wanted them to enjoy the same things that Todd and I and Tori enjoyed. And it was that simple. I mean, we didn't have any aspirations other than we want to grow the game. We want to grow the game. And I'm saddened. We talk about this all the time, and Todd sees it, and the quality of our game in Northwest Ohio, I think, is eroded, and the participation rates have eroded. Because I think we just wring people out. We wring them dry in youth. So we like to think that we're kind of like the counterculture youth group. Less is more. Less money invested, less time. So the time we do get is great enthusiasm and very healthy and very family oriented. You come out to a Sunday operation where we have an hour and a half game. What would you say we run through that facility on a Sunday?
I don't know. It's groups of 500 every hour.
A couple thousand people in a day, and they don't have to blow their entire Sunday. They go to church, they grab lunch, grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt, and uncle come out to the game. It's an hour. They're back at their house by 1, 2, 3 o'clock, and they've had and the kid that's all he could talk about. So we just feel like culturally, we would love to see, and I know Todd feels the same way, we would love to see all of these youth leagues adopt some of these basic principles. Keep them hungry, keep them fresh, let them go to their grandma's house, let them mow the stop with the constant youth sports drum banging their head. You don't hear, last thing I'll say on it, you don't need it. I'm just say this, that I played professionally, I played in college for a year. We played in the yard. You don't need it. And it's not a new day. It's the same sport.
Yeah.
We have great weight rooms and great, that's where you want to be good at, is when we're playing for Coach Spangler and Coach Moeller and Coach Nick Miller. I want 5th grade, enjoy it.
I want to continue this. I know you want to end it, but you and I have talked at length about this, so I want to dive into the youth sports culture a little bit more. I got to take another break here, though. K. Kern Painting is a proud sponsor of Northwest Ohio Athletics. K. Kern Painting was formed in 1998 by Kinsey Kern in Toledo and now has a footprint in Toledo, Cleveland, and Michigan, and has road crews traveling throughout the United States. For a free estimate or job opportunities with K. Kern Painting, visit their website at kkernpainting.com or call 419-351-1250 or stop by their Toledo location at 211 North Reynolds Road. Welcome back to the KK Collision Black Swamp Football Show. Thank you to Kenzie Kern, another icon here in Liberty Center. Thank Kenzie for his support as well. Another one of the very generous Kerns in this community.
No, they're the best and always have been. And let me say this so far. If anyone tuned in expecting to get the magic bullet, the top secret information that's the foundation of what you see here, you're getting it.
You're getting it.
It isn't that complicated, is it? It isn't that complicated.
And Scott, you and I have text calls for how many years? Why are not more communities replicating what the MAC does? The Marion Locals, Coldwaters, those schools down in the MAC that have won 30-some state championships since after your time. They didn't start winning state championships until the 90s. So it really hasn't been all that long that they have really got rolling with their state championships, specifically for football. And they have youth sports, but it's like what you guys do. They don't make it and those kids down there don't play a lot of travel ball and all that stuff. And they even have some, I think, youth soccer even down there. But once they get to junior high, they put an end to that.
Right.
And then they're playing football. But you look at their numbers, and you guys have played the Coldwaters over the years. Versailles back in the state championship in '98, and they always have 80 to 90 kids. And you're doing the exact same thing. You've taken that blueprint and done it here. Why are more out there not?
I don't know. I know that, again, Todd and Zeb and Nick, and we've had these conversations for generations about streamline, simplicity. You need, bodies and volunteers and like a collective that believe in the same thing. That's another thing we've got going. Everybody's on the same page. Very rarely do we used to have all these board meetings and, working the rules out and all this and that. And Todd was a leader of, listen, let's just continue to evolve to simplicity.
Do you really care who wins the championship here?
No, what championship? We're scrimmaging a game or two.
Right.
We're playing. All these kids are learning.
But that's what our society is now.
Well, that's why
my kid got a ring at the ball field this week, or they won a bike, or
Lynn, Tori's been a coach. I've been a coach. Todd's been a coach. When do you want to win? When do you want to do this? You want to do this in 5th grade? Good. We want to do it at the high school level. And I think that formula for us, and I know that a couple guys texted me and said, don't give it away, don't give it away. Like, come on, man. I want the whole area to be better. I want rosters to be 50, 60. I miss the days that when the Wasion, Bryan, these games were just Swan, nail biters. Evergreen won a league title in '85. I want to return to that. And I think this is something that every community can do. It's easy, it's inexpensive, it's pleasant, the participation rates are off the chart, and then all those kids stay. And then you get them in high school and they're physically ready to go, and they're ready to be coached, they're prepared, they know the history and what's expected. Like, that's the way it should be, a development and an evolution, not an instant gratification piece and living your life vicariously through your kid. That's another big problem that our society has. So I just think that people have embraced this and have said, this is the way to do it. And by the way, the results on Friday, if we want to debate that, we can do that, but there should be no debate about that part. And I don't mean to cast aspersions about other, I just wish everybody would take a look and do it, kind of look at this model.
Well, if you don't believe us, you don't have to believe me. These three guys are the experts on this, especially Scott and Todd here and the other guys that are running this organization. But Rex Lindgren, Bill Inselman, Mark Emmons, and John Downey sat in my dining room about 6 years ago when I first started Black Swamp for a magazine article, and we started talking about youth sports, and they all said less is more.
Yeah.
4 Hall of Fame guys, icons of football in Northwest Ohio. You may want to listen to them.
Well, I think Todd would say we have. I think,
and you guys have.
I think, and Todd still does that today. I mean, let them out early, get them a Burger King hamburger. I mean, we have hamburger. Our biggest night of the year was always hamburger night, wasn't it?
It still is. Yeah, we go to Burger King and order about 300 of them and show up with coolers and swear they're getting a steak dinner. I mean, it's just this little cheeseburger, but they're like losing their minds over it. So, yeah.
We used to incentivize, we have a 5-man sled. So it's a flag football league with a little tackle at the end, 5th and 6th. And we got a 2-man sled. And we have kids hitting sleds.
That's how we start every practice.
In pre-K.
Yeah. I mean, so like a 5th and 6th grade practice starts with we have a 5-man sled, just like the varsity has, right from Rogers, and we drive it all over the field. Just kind of like, we have shirts that say 35 power on the back because that's what we run.
We celebrate 35 power.
But we learned a lot in the 5th and 6th grade. I mean, we started out early on, and we were playing teams.
Scrimmaging-ish, whatever.
We played Delta usually once a year. We would go over there, and they'd come here. Played Columbus Grove, and they had hand signals and like calling in plays, and we just got run off the field.
All the dads were the DC and the OC, and it was really something.
And I think we played Hicks, maybe went over to Hicksville, and Gibsonburg. I think we played some games, and the other thing that we squashed at the 5th and 6th grade level was the daddy ball, because for probably 8 years in there, they were getting coached by their dads, which we need help. But then at the 5th and 6th grade level, it was myself, Nick Miller, Bill Zeider, and Big Bill Zeider were the 4 coaches. So they'd all come through the system, and then at 5th grade, it was like, okay, dads, you can stand over and watch. And, we plugged them in where we felt like we needed to. And, it's kind of like you're squashing that before junior high. The daddy ball is gone. Like, we have a few help here and there, but talk about fun with Bill Zeider and then Big Bill Zeider.
The best.
An old school coach that Big Bill, favorite drill was bull in the ring, still in 5th and 6th grade. He would get these kids circled up at the end of practice, and it was just like...
Ritual. It was a ritual.
Boy.
Here's the thing. We missed Big Bill Zeider so much that we gave him a watch when he said, I can't do this anymore. We're like, come on back the next year. One more year. Finally, one year he told the guys, I can't do it. I'm older. I don't want to do it. So he retired. We got him a retirement watch because we really loved having Bill Zeider in that culture. And what Todd talked about, it's not just the play on the field or the less is more or the enthusiasm or the appetite and hunger that these kids have to want to play more, but it's those things operationally on the ground. We're not letting people come in and dictate the quarterback, etc. And a lot of these leagues do that, and I do see that. The coach's dad is the quarterback. It happens, and I just feel like if you take 3 steps back and then you gut all that system culturally, you're going to get a lot more results. Retention, numbers, and that leads to champion. Our depth is just off the charts.
Yeah, and we do a lot at that level. We had, if you're over 115 pounds, you're not going to carry the football.
Right.
It's funny what we do, like this year. We're splitting up teams, and we're like, we're matching up kids based on their physical capabilities. If there's 2 physical kids, this kid's going to be the right tackle and that kid's going to be the left tackle. And then we have a new kid that's coming out this year, first time playing football, he's going to be the left tackle. So we put a little shyer kid across from him. It's all the way down to that little stuff, because at that age, you get ear hold one time, that might be it. You know what I mean? And then we lose them. And,
100%.
So we do, it's funny, we still do we do Bloody Your Buddy. We play it, and we obviously do tackling drills all practice, but then we do that at the end, but our groups are very meticulous, so nobody's going to get, the big 140-pound 6th grader isn't going to drill the little guy. You know what I mean?
We think we've alleviated the fear of the game, and I think that there's a lot of fear in our game at the youth level.
Sure.
And it's just natural. You're hitting each other in pads and this and that. We put hand shields in the hands of our flag football players, and somebody's like, why are you doing that? Well, we want to teach physicality a little bit. We want to run dives. We go to a flag football Saturday, we're running 22 dive, man. We're doing it. We're running 35 power. We run those plays. We got a wing with a hand, and we're going out hitting guys. And I can still remember Brian Skinny Miller coming he brought his kids over here, and he's like, you guys have 2 sleds. you got hand shields for your third graders, and you're running powers. Usually in the 7-on-7 era, it's all spread and boom. We won some 35 power pass, and we're doing it. And I think what the shields do, though, it protects the kids that are fearful. So it works both ways for us. We can teach some physicality. We put in all the dives, powers, and sweeps that they run. That he ran for years at freshman, and then the kids that aren't ready, they kind of gear down. So it kind of addresses the fear and the physicality of the game, and I think it solves a lot of that dilemma of, I don't want to play this year because I got whacked last year, that ear hole piece. We take that off the table early on in the process.
Yeah, let me take another break here, and we'll be right back. The Swanton Welding Company proudly supports our local student athletes and coaches. We're committed to being your local steel fabrication company in Northwest Ohio and building projects across the country. For job opportunities at the Swanton Welding Company, visit www.swantonweld.com or visit them at 407 Zider Way in Swanton. American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store off Route 24 on State Route 109, just south of Liberty Center, now has 88 unleaded fuel and is your one-stop shop for fuel, food, drinks, and much, much more, including locally raised meats and home-baked goods. American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store is proud to support Black Swamp Football and is the host of the Black Swamp Football podcast, football show, and Saturday mornings Rise and Rewind. Stop in and see Glenn and Greg today and make American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store a part of your everyday routine. Thank you to Norm Zider at the Swanton Welding Company, another guy that's as generous as they come, and can't thank him enough. And also the crew here at American Freedom Energy, Grandma's General Store. I'm going to let out a little secret. We went out there and we were looking through the meat case last night after our podcast on Tuesday night. They got these little snack sticks out there from the meat place down in Van Loo, and it's D&H, I think it is.
Sounds right.
And they're called Smokies.
Ooh, yeah, I know the Smoky.
Have you had them?
They are deadly.
I took that pack home last night. There was about 12 sticks in there. Cut the pack open, bite into the first one. Now I'll go sit down on the couch and doing some editing for the videos from the podcast. I'm like, oh, those are pretty good. Go pick up 3 more out of the fridge. Before I know it, about 15 minutes later, the whole pack is gone.
You skip the blood work. Don't hit the clinic.
I know.
The lipids are off the chart, but it's worth it.
I'm in a little weight loss competition with my brother right now.
You lost last night. You did not win the day.
Well, you see that bag right there in the freezer? I told Glenn today I want 4 more packs of those because I'm putting some in the freezer. They may not last.
They may not make it.
Oh my gosh. But don't come out here and steal my snack sticks, the Smokies. And then the honey cheddar, I had some of those too today. It's not looking good for me and my health.
I respect it, though. Everything in moderation. Here's a great piece of advice I got from a smart man. Everything in moderation, including moderation. So that means sometimes you just let it rip.
Binge.
You binge.
Binge.
I don't know if I can do without them. I mean, if that takes 10 years off my life, May
be worth it.
It may be worth it.
Risk reward.
Oh, man, those things are good.
I always talk about weight loss and wins and losses, and my record in weight loss since I've been an older adult is about 24 and 53, and that'll get you fired. And my wife has fired me many times. Now I have hit about 8 or 9 pounds recently, and I'm 38 and 60. That ain't much better, so I got work to do.
Charlene takes such good care of herself, Scotty. You got to step it up, buddy.
I'm a little worried about that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little worried about that.
You guys were talking about kind of matching up weight sizes for kids and not letting kids that are bigger carry the ball and that sort of thing. I see these videos on Twitter or on social media where you have these 8-year-olds and there's a 150-pound 8-year-old and he just blows up a 75-pounder. And, people just love it. Like, oh, that's a great hit. We got to stop that. It's killing football at the youth level.
Yeah, we've had, I always go back to like Jarrett Crew, who was a great baseball player, could throw a football 80 yards. He played guard for us for 2 years in 5th and 6th grade football because he was over the weight limit. Caleb Carpenter was the same way. He was like fully grown in like 6th grade and like, I want to run the ball. Well, not here. You know what I mean? So it's, you can't do it.
And the best story that Todd's telling, because he's right, because him and Nick Miller and that whole group just meticulously did that. That saved a lot of kids from quitting. But like Kerry Crew was on our initial board. Like he's the daddy ball. He's not. He's like the he's like, okay, yeah, we get it. That's our rule. Yeah. Like his kid had to play guard. Like, what did that teach everybody else? I mean, like there's probably the best athlete on the field in 5th and 6th grade. There's his dad saying, get to guard. And oh, by the way, rotate out. That's not the way. He's used the best players and the dads and the quarterbacks and all and the skill. We just did it with the antithesis of that. Kerry Crew was like that. And it was really something to have a daddy ball be like the anti-daddy ball guy. Yeah. To have that, and then Todd's the same way. He's got big kids everywhere. He's putting them in spots that, geez, Dad, this is what we do here. No one gets special treatment. Nobody,
Yeah, it's good stuff. What does a practice look like? Take us through what a practice looks like for both of your levels that you have.
So at the 5th and 6th grade, like I said, we do a couple laps and we get them in cow lines and we always drive the sled. And we've got guys there like Matt Schwab that have played with me, and I mean, they are all about it. I mean, Matt last year made the kids pancakes. We had pancake blocks in our games, and the next day he showed up with a bag of pancakes, and every pancake in practice he was handing out. So little stuff like that, but we're hitting the sled. I try to model it as much as we can off the varsity, then we get into offensive drills. So, we have dads that are helping now that I try to, this is what the running backs do at the varsity level. They're going through the candy bars and they're cutting this way. The linemen are doing this and the whatever else. And then we go to defense. Defensive drills mostly focus on the tackling. We've got the tackle rings. We've got pads that you can shoot your hands through. We just bought this tackle jacks thing that kind of always sets itself back up. And so we have usually 4 stations of that to where we're hammering the fundamentals. Yeah.
Todd, how many days a week are you practicing at the 5th and 6th grade level? 2 days.
We practice 6 to 7:30, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we play on Sundays. Like I said, so we go through that, and then usually the last half hour is a scrimmage, and it's always 6th versus 6th, 5th versus 5th. Like right now, we have 45 kids, so we have 4 even teams. And we scrimmage. And this is what our games look like as well. They look like what you would do in your first scrimmage, where you're going to go out there and 10 plays. So Orange has got the ball, and you get 10 plays of offense, and then Orange, and we just flip it back and forth. There's no chains. There's no first downs. There's none of that. It's 10 plays. That way, hate to be like that, but playing time is across the board. For our best player, it's even with our worst player, and so that's kind of what it looks like, and that's been the model for 15 years. It hasn't really changed.
And if you're in the stands and you're listening to the coaches, because my kids played and I kind of stepped away from the day-to-day, they're coaching things like enjoy your teammate, celebrate with them, thank your lineman for making that hole, help your teammate up. The sportsmanship, real basic stuff. That's why it's not hard, and we're doing that every play. And it's nice these kids are like getting to the cultural habits that I think ultimately get you to championship level football. The detail work at the youth level that they do is off the chart. And it's not done to win championships at that level. It's done to set the precedent and the foundation you talk about, because when we plant that seed, you harvest that crop when they're juniors and seniors. We've been having some bumper crops around here for a while. Yeah. So we know those formulas work.
And the younger guys, so up till the season starts, the 3rd and 4th are going twice a week. Pre-KK and 1st and 2nd are going twice a week. And once the season starts, pre-KK, 1st and 2nd are 1 day a week. So they'll practice on Tuesdays, and then they'll play their game on Sunday.
Are you involved at all those levels, Todd?
No, just the 5th and 6th, just the tackle, yeah. So they're all going on at the same time. Okay. All the practices are 6 to 7:30, so everybody's out.
Let me interrupt Todd, because he's not going to be a braggart.
Thank you, Scott.
Todd is coordinating with Zeb Orr and his group of guys at all levels.
So he's involved at all levels.
And he's being called and texted. He's running in the equipment shit. he's involved.
Gotcha. Thank you, Scott, for
Doing it.
clearing that up.
And I know for a fact he's doing it because I'm not now. And I see him running around. And all those guys, coaches, all those guys do, though. It's not just Todd Spangler. He's leading and directing, Zeb Orr, handling so much behind the scenes organizationally. The administration of this league is a lot. Zeb handles all that. So it just takes a group of guys on the same page all the time. Servicing kids. We are servicing kids. That's what this is about. This isn't about us, being coaches and look at what we're doing. It's about what they're doing. And we really kind of promote and prop them up, and I think kids love that.
Is there some off-season meetings and work that you guys are involved in, or not a whole lot?
We used to. We always used to meet in the winter, get together, and it was very little football talk. It was mostly just BSing or whatever else about anything else, off-season stuff. But I mean, we used to, but then it was kind of like Scott said. I said once it got to be year maybe 8, 10, it felt like this thing was kind of running itself, and everybody was on board with it. So, there's a little bit of coordination with camps or whatever else, but other than that, no, we're pretty much nothing till, comes middle of summer when we're talking about getting equipment moved from here or there, and then, the equipment we have is crazy. I mean, we have probably 70 hand shields, like the nice, hand shields. I mean, we've got all the dummies. I mean, and that's from the people that you mentioned in these,
It's publicly funded.
Yeah, I mean, we send out, I know for fundraising, you send out a letter and it's
One letter.
Yeah, and if we need a new 5-man sled, we get it. And Casey's jealous of us, I think, at the varsity level, because we've got stuff down there that's falling apart, and we've got a blaster that the running backs run through, and we got helmets. We bought all new speed helmets like 5 years ago, because, we had to get ahead of the concussion stuff, and, we pay to recondition them, just like the varsity does, because, with everything that's going on, you have to, keep them in the right shape, so.
And there's a percentage of our kids that can't always afford to play, and and our donors and our, it's like, and we don't talk about it, and, we don't say this kid need play. Just get your uniform and go play. It's so nice, because it takes away the humiliation or some people are in poverty today. This economy's hard. We've frozen fees since day one. And that's a nice part. And a lot of our donors ask, if kids can't pay to play? Yeah, we have 4 or 5 kids a year. Sometimes some of the years it was 10, 11. Mm-hmm. Check is written, kids are playing. And we also want to promote crossover multiple sports. In a small school like this, you can't do one sport. So cross-country kid wants to play a little football? Sure. I'm going to miss, I got to meet. Go, do it. I got a soccer game. Fine, go. Like, really? Yeah. Like, the cooperation that we have in intra sport-wise has been off the chart. We share fields and give up space, and I think the decorum has really went a long way and built, because football was always remember that, it was the big bully on the block. And it kind of is in a way organizationally, but Casey's a gentleman. He's a gentleman, and that staff is just full of just great people. And we operate that way in youth, and I think our parents really like that part. Yeah.
Do you ever have instances, Todd, where people, the key to this whole operation is being in alignment, right?
Aligned.
Yep.
Aligned, yep.
And so do you ever have times where somebody maybe steps out of line and says, hey, I like what we're doing, but we need to do more? Do you ever have to put people back in line or not? Yeah,
there's always been the outliers that come along. I think we've got some of that coming through the system now, that you got to kind of keep an eye on. And there's, like we've talked about, there's all sorts of options out there for really cool stuff and rings and everything else. But we obviously just stand where we're at, and this is what we're going to do. Because we get approached every year with, hey, this league, and hey, we're one team short, or we've always get invited to these football tournaments where there's you play 3 games in a weekend, which is wild, to me. It's little stuff like that, and a dad will be like, hey, have you seen this, or something like that, and it's yeah, we're good, we just kind of squash it day one, I guess you could say. But you always get the guys that want to help, and they're helping for the wrong reasons and stuff like that. So we try to try to steer clear of those guys, I guess you could say. And I mean, I think in the long run, they see it, you know. I mean, the bottom line is we're here for those fringe kids. Like, we always have those 8 in every grade that are the studs, right? But I mean, I could go through a list, if you put it together, of all those couple kids that, you know, didn't really like football in 5th and 6th grade, but, you know, second team all-league guy as a senior, you know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty big list. And I mean, I think that's what we're missing now, you know, in a lot of the areas, because I mean, I'm coaching the freshmen right now at Liberty, and we're scrambling for games, and we haven't played since the beginning of the year. And I mean, it's tough to find freshman teams, and JV teams are canceling their seasons. And
well, there's a Division II school, I won't mention specifically, but up in the Toledo area, Division II, pretty affluent school system, don't have a JV football team. Division II, no JV football team.
If you have a football program and you want to grow something that's sustainable for generations, you have to start here. You don't get to start putting the superstar fullback in the weight room and getting him bigger because he's a star. It is exactly what Todd said. It is bringing along those fringe kids that feel not necessarily a part of something. You make them a part of something pretty cool. And you know what the thing I think our kids and youth do is we make this thing vertically integrated. They feel like they're varsity players, man. They feel like I'm connected to the Cruz twins. I'm wearing the same number as Waylon Rents. I think that vertical integration from pre-K makes them feel like they're a part of it. So they go to a game, that's my team. I mean, I'm playing with the same colors. I run out on the field with them before the game. I'm in the same tunnel. Like, that's me, man. And then they get there and you're like, damn, like these guys are me. Like, it's not 5-star corporate awesomeness. It is simplicity, alignment, cultural. And I think that's been a huge formula win for us. I wouldn't want everybody in Northwest Ohio to have a freshman team, have a JV team, and a thriving youth program. And you know what you have to do? Commit to it. It's kind of hard. And when you're coaching for a paycheck, that supplemental 10 grand, I'm doing my job. You want to win big, you got more work to do, and I think it has to be, you got to be involved in youth. You got to build youth. I believe that.
Yeah, we've gotten away from that, the model of, you know, we used to play teams, but then we felt like, you know, we play our 4 or 5 games in-house on Sundays. They're just like scrimmages.
Yep.
You know, then at the end of the year, we have the big event at the end of the year is at the football stadium, to where we start at like 1 o'clock and all the teams play, and then the 5th and 6th grade play under the lights, like our jamboree, and we play that like a real game. You know, but so they never play other teams. But I also think, you know, we always talk to them at the end, like, you're going to go to junior high now, and you're going to play Wauseon, you're going to play Bryan, PH, you know, all these teams. And I mean, yeah, I want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, this was fun. It was kind of neat, but like,
hungry.
Yeah, I want to go. Now I'm ready to go play somebody else. I mean, that's what's, you know.
The best part of that jamboree for me is when you call the kids over to turn the uniform in. Hey, everybody, 4th grade orange over here. Waiting around. Hey, 4th grade orange over here. You got the bin ready to go. No one's coming.
They don't want to take them off, do
I go,
they?
hey, get over here. And they're like,
I guess.
I don't want to keep playing. Well, it's over now. The hunger of that moment just lasts forever in them. That I think that is the moment of like separation. Like, I love this so much. Why can't I have more? Because giving you less, you're going to pay off in the end. Yeah. We like the less part, and it's really hard in today's society because we're all about more. I think if you're more about less, you're going to get great results when it counts.
We got a bunch of questions here written down. I got to take one more break, and then we'll be back to hopefully wrap this up.
Yep.
Yeah.
High school seniors, uncertain that college is right for you? Concerned about the cost of higher education? At the Gherkin Companies, we offer rewarding livelihoods even without a degree. That's a good living straight out of high school with no tuition debt. Starting pay between recent college grads and those with high school diplomas is closer than you might think. So if you enjoy teamwork, working outdoors, and being part of something meaningful, consider your options at gherkincompanies.com/careers.
D&M2 Tires and Service is an auto repair shop and tire dealer serving Delta and the surrounding communities. They offer a variety of automotive repair and tire services to keep your vehicle rolling. In everything we do, our team is committed to providing the best workmanship and customer experience possible. Visit them at 6946 Road 5 in Delta during business hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to noon on Saturdays. Or browse their catalog at dm2tire.com. Thank you to all of our sponsors, especially Kyle Kern at KK Collision, so generous, and can't thank them all enough for supporting this. You guys know it. Without the businesses, you can't do what you're doing with the youth sports. Take me back, and who are some folks that you feel are instrumental in what this has become? And I don't want to leave anybody out, so it may be a little bit hard for both of you, but who have been some instrumental people that we need to mention on this show, do you feel like, guys? Or is there too many?
I think a lot of our grandparents, of these kids they are such big supporters. They're there, they donate at times, they're participating in their grandkids' lives. I know that Dan and Cecile Chambers have been a long-time donor, and they've been in Liberty Center football since Dan Chambers in '57, and he has just been in the bloodstream. And we can name guy after guy, but Norm Zeider Sr. was a huge, big gift leader. He led this thing a little bit financially, and I went in and said, we want to change things, we want to do all these things, and he's like, what do you need? I'm like,
that's the Zeiders.
And what do you need? And then, but here's the thing though, like Jeff Spangler, Jeff, we want to change. What do you need? Like every guy you talk to that is connected in an intimate way put those seeds in the ground and gave us the seed money to get started. Because we had nothing. Todd said it, we had nothing. I mean, we had to buy everything new. And we had to do all kinds of stuff. So I think Norm Sr. would be a guy you'd mention. I think that you talk about Davis Farm. I mean, they have been loyal to us since day one. When you have 15 years, I look back, I'm the development guy, so I look back 15 years of fundraising and development, and you have a group of about 15 people that are religious about it. Like, what do you need? What, Kyle Kern, what can I give you? And then these guys that are coming up, like Kenzie Kern, jump right. Like, we're growing our development base because of all of these people that generationally follow each other and see the results of this stuff. So I think, I would say certainly Norm Sr. was a big part of it. I know Jeff Spangler was a big part of it because we had many conversations about how to do it corporately, because he was a business leader in our community and just did it in a way that was just like a gentleman, because he knows how to treat people. And he would talk to me about, listen, you're going to have these issues. How you deal with those issues is how you're going to grow this league. You say Rex Lindgren. I mean, just how that whole thing and how we all reminisce about it, and the connections generationally, I think, was a huge part of it too. Dave Moeller was on a trustee who made fields and helped us get started. He only was there for 1 year, but he was an instrumental guy to help us with all those things. So a few of those founders gave us not only dollars, but guidance, and worked through tough schedules and made it possible for us to be successful, for sure.
His dad, Ted, if you don't know the story, there's a story there that we could do a few episodes there.
American hero. So, but Todd, I don't know, I mean, is there anybody, I mean, you could name 10 guys.
No, I mean, you could go, you could go on, the B.A. Miller, Cheryl,
of course, Cheryl and
Terry, all of them, whatever you need. And then, I mean, the day-to-day practice and stuff, I mean, you could pretty much go to every past player. I mean, because you look at every level, I mean, it's, you got Rex Miller in there, Brett Silvas, Neil Carter,
for sure.
Andrew. I mean, they're everywhere, you know what I mean? And I mean, they kind of all buy in, I mean, to what we're doing, you know what I mean? And it seems like those type of guys, they do a good job of heading off, like what you said, Tori, was with, the rogue parent that wants to, go play all over the place. I mean, they kind of squash that, and, I mean, there's just, I could name guys for days that have helped us over the years. I mean,
Todd mentioned, there was some dark days to start. We had a lot of pushback, and some people didn't like not doing
pushback as far as
just
what?
Why are you changing? Why aren't we doing Flacco? Why don't we have a draft? Why can't the superstars run the ball at 160 pounds? Like, what are you doing? We're not teaching these kids to be tough. We'd had some guys at the flag level that, would want to just bully people. We had to root that stuff out. And people like Cheryl Carter would send you a text and say, you're doing the right thing. And nice. Cheryl Carter comes out of nowhere, and you feel like empowered by that. Like, there's a B.A. Miller offspring telling us, you keep doing it that way. That encouragement, we get dozens a year that way. You can't imagine the texts of support about, we put the national anthem with the Pledge of Allegiance in.
Oh, cool.
People were like, that's spectacular. We didn't get into all the politics of we just pledge allegiance, and the kids were like, we all got together, we had a flag, just threw a flag up there. Kyle Kern, I want you to do, if I'm going to give money, which I'm happy to do, I think we need to reflect on the freedoms we have, and we need to show our veterans what they mean to us in our community. I'm like, done. How big was that when we first started that?
Yeah, that was huge. I mean, it was right in the middle of a lot of other stuff going on, and I mean, small town, that's what we're about, so I mean, yeah, it was good stuff.
Gives me chills just thinking about folks stepping up like Kyle and doing something like that, and it's amazing what we've built here.
The kids fought over who could hold the flag. Remember we bring that flag out, and they would just jump at trying to hold the flag. Like, hold on, man, you held it last week. That was like a big deal. You can hold the flag now. I mean, they just hold that flag like this, and they would be the kindergartners shaking like. That was a deal. Like, who's hold the flag this week?
Yeah.
Like, everybody's like, I want to hold that, Coach Barrett. Like, maybe we'll figure it out when we get there.
Listening to you guys talk, it's organized, but it's not. You don't have a script almost
It's a lot of playground. It really is.
It's like what you guys talked about in the very beginning when you were youths and going out and creating games and just having fun. And I think kids need more of that. We don't have that anymore. Drive around. How many kids do you see out shooting a basket or playing wiffle ball? Or we played tape ball back in my day. We'd roll up a newspaper and wrap tape around it, and you take a broomstick and try to hit it. You'd hit it about 1 out of 50 times, but it was fun to do. But kids don't do that. They don't create these games anymore.
And Todd knows it. The first thing out of Tori's mouth was, when we were 10 and 11, what did we do?
Yeah.
It wasn't, we won to the Super Bowl at Columbus Grove, played Bluffton, and the Bucko Pirates won the game. No one gives a digging dog about that. They don't. I'm talking about putting on Dexter Bussey and playing Kill the Man and playing in the snow. Keith Kern would take guys up in the snow days, call everybody up, rally up, and go play. Like, that's what we need, free play. We don't, and that's what you remember. Todd, you tell me those weren't your best days.
Oh, absolutely.
They're best days.
Yeah. A lot of 4th and goal, just line it up, and that was what we did, just like in the snow, just go for it, whatever, But we try to promote that. It's just different though now, you know what I mean? Like the 6th graders get a football at the end of the season. We get them a Wilson football, and we're like, play football, you know what I mean? Like, we want you to play basketball and wrestle and baseball, everything else, but you get a chance in the winter, go play football, you know what I mean? Get your buddies up to the park and do that stuff. But it's tough anymore. They got tablets and phones and all that stuff, but you try to promote it. But yeah.
Why do families, I always find this intriguing, moving into the Liberty Center community, why do families not move away from Liberty Center? You guys are all lifelong Liberty Center ingrained folks, and you can go down the list. The coffee club here on Saturday mornings. I mean, they've been here for decades.
I think all graduates probably, except Chris Riggy, right? I mean,
yeah.
Matt, I think Matt went to Lakota, right?
Macomb, yeah.
Macomb, I'm sorry.
Is there a reason why they don't leave?
You can tackle it first.
I'm a first generation. I mean, Barrett my grandma was here, came to Campbell's and did the pack, and when you get in this stadium when you're a kid, and you just get in there, and you've talked about it in the pre-games, and you get in there and you look around and you're in this bowl, and you just kind of hear the echoes of all that you do. You think it's kind of weird, like, come on, this is romantic, it's weird. It's true. It's true, and it's addicting to want to be a part of the history of, and all that history wasn't even all that great some years. There was a lot of bad here, but your grandpa did it, and your best friend's uncle did. I mean, like, you want to walk in those same footsteps. And football has just that common thread throughout all those generations. That's what we talk about. And you say that all the time, but I walk in the grain elevator and get some cat food. It's a 2.5-hour deal. Like, I'm getting cat food. Sit down, there's a donut, coffee for you. And what are we doing in the fourth quarter, punting on 4th and 1 inside their 40? Like, dude, you're going to doubt Casey Moeller? We're up 37 points. But that's what you love that. Porch coaches have been fabulous. Some of their best friends are in these things. So it's your friends, it's your family. What do you need? Outside of that, what do you really need?
I mean, if you're a football person, I mean, you can't just fall in love with this town and this community and the tradition. Kip Kern.
Kip Kern.
I mean, come on.
Kip Kern Field last time I checked for a reason, right, Tori?
Yeah, Rex Lindgren Stadium. I mean, if that doesn't give you goosebumps, I mean, are you living?
I gave Rex
seriously.
I gave Rex Lindgren's Hall of Fame speech. It was very difficult to give. And in the back of the room, I saw Minor Kirshner's there's Minor Kirshner, like from Liberty Center in the OHSA Coaches Hall of Fame. And Wink Martindale was there that night, DC at Michigan, formerly at Baltimore, and he came up to me at the bar and he says, I coach in the NFL, I've coached in college, I've been nothing like my high school coach. Just sat there, we're drinking beer, and he's like half crying, like, high school football is just a romantic, relational, rooted thing. Todd, am I wrong? I mean,
no, you're right. I'll tell a story I haven't told many people. My father-in-law probably doesn't even remember saying it, but you guys remember 2018 Genoa game.
Yes.
Brendan Morris catches that pass.
Incredible.
25.
Incredible.
So there's a guy in the end zone that had an end zone shot of it, and we're watching. And I showed it to my father-in-law, John Sharp, Liz's dad. So he's watching it, and he tears up, and he walks away. I'm like, man, like I didn't expect that. He's like, play it again for me, and he doesn't even watch it. He goes, do you hear that? He's like, that's our town. Like that's what he said. You know what I mean? It stuck with me. Like our whole town's there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of like, like I always remember that. I mean, it's like Friday nights. I mean, there's nothing else going on. You know what I mean? It's like.
And Lynn, I rent from John. He's in my office and fixing a leak because Tyler, his son, lives upstairs, and we started talking about the leak, and then for too long, it's football. It's football for 20 minutes. Yeah. That's John. I mean, there's a story. I mean, I'm talking to John Sharp about football, and I'm not related, but we are related. Football makes it relational for all of us.
Yeah. Well, Grandma Jean, Norm Zeider.
Are you kidding me?
The first time I met her, she wanted a magazine. I had about 5 minutes. I didn't have time. Stop over there, drop her a magazine. She starts rattling off Liberty Center football history, and I was there for 2 hours. I mean, it was one of the best days of my life. Just listen to her reminisce about the history of Liberty Center. And I had 5 minutes, but guess what? I made time because it was.
That's why we stay.
Yeah.
Grandma Jean Kern.
I mean,
that's why we stay.
Pete, that lady is.
And we'll be doing the game on LC Tiger Sports Live. She'll send us a text.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She doesn't miss it. She doesn't miss a game.
That's a good call. Hey, did you miss that? Did you see the replay on that? Like Grandma Jean. But when she speaks, it's like E.F. Hutton. We're all listening. Grandma Jean Kern.
That's right. Oh, wonderful lady. Yep. I guess she just answered that question right there. You talked about the fundamentals. What are you teaching? What are the fundamentals, the core fundamentals you're trying to instill in these youth?
Yeah, anymore. I mean, it's a lot of just blocking and tackling. I mean, obviously I said we're hitting the sled, but I mean, we've bought so much equipment to help them tackle the right way. You know what I mean? Because that's a big deal anymore is, one, we're trying to protect them from, tackling the wrong way. But, the fundamentals, like I've said before, we practice almost like we do at the varsity level with, running back drills and linebacker drills. And we have ex-linebackers that are helping us at, 5th and 6th grade level. So they know the drills and what they're supposed to be looking for. And, all that little stuff. And it's, it's not a lot. We want to send them to 7th grade. They can get in a football stance. You know what I mean? They know where the 4 hole is. You know what I mean? They know where the fullback lines up. Just that little stuff. You know what I mean? We're not trying to teach them the 37 reverse pass. Anything crazy. I mean, we go out there and we have play cards. And we teach them where they're at on that play card, and then they know if I'm the right tackle, I'm supposed to block with my right foot, left shoulder. But that's as good as we want. You know what I mean? Get in a stance, little stuff like that. I mean, there's nothing crazy that we're trying to teach at that level.
But I think it's all underscored and supported with the whole fun thing. Like if you're paying attention, so Todd has done these cards for us for years. Like he'd give us these play cards, and this is what you're going to run. And we looked 42 dive, 35 power, 36. So I mean, that's all we run. That was like a power pass, and so he just had like 6, 7 plays. He would limit the plays because he was kind of like our organizational field general on offense. But he gets the card up like the old, everybody's up in there, and this is you, Jim, and this is you, Kenny, and they're up there looking, and then they get on the line of scrimmage and they blow it. And Todd's like, get back to the line of scrimmage. Jim, who are you on this card, big fella? And he's like, so it's like he's infusing fun with coaching and fundamentals. So that was kind of a little bit what Rex did for me. Like, he got on you and it was hard, it was awful, but he made it fun, and he kind of wanted to keep coming back. And I think that's what we're doing, is they just want to keep coming back because of the fun. And they're learning something. 7th and 8th grade, we don't lose a lot.
No.
They win a lot there. And they're not doing anything different than we did in 5th and 6th.
Yeah, and that's another part of, the retention is huge. We've got great junior high coaches.
Fantastic.
That, they know what we have in 5th and 6th. They want the list. What we had, last year we had like 26 6th graders going into 7th grade, and Brian Miller called, who do we got? Who we missing? You know what I mean? And I would tell him, so they're on them, and then we've got James Whitmire and Jesse in the 8th grade, and
fantastic.
Just, they're having fun, they're winning some games, they might lose some games, but it's truthful, it's a K through 12 program. That's what's the beauty of it. The fundamentals are there in the 5th and 6th grade, but, talk about having fun. All these kids have an orange tape on their helmets so we can learn their names, and most of them aren't their names. We just come up with some dumb nickname for them, and just so we can, but they love it, So we learn a little bit about them, and they think it's hilarious.
And everybody's getting attention, Lynn. It's not just the star fullback. Really, these guys have said, some guys we got to make feel good about this. And they go up to them and hey, you're doing a good job. Like, am I really? I don't know. But you are. We're happy that you're here. Like, that, to me, is a little customer service. And that's the thing that Todd and that group has done, is they know the fringe players. It's easy to coach the star. Not so easy to coach that last 8. First 8, good. That's easy. Middle 8, they're going to get better. That last 8 is what makes the program. And I think that's where we win, is the last 8. Everybody's got good first 8. That second 8 is kind of ish. Then that last 8, I don't know how many teams have got great last 8s. Tori, you see a lot of football. Liberty's got a good last 8.
Real good last 8. It would be middle to top 8. Some other places, middle for sure.
Yeah. How are you keeping everybody happy? Because you guys didn't get to play back in your day until you got older. In this day and age of our society, instant gratification. Kids don't get to play. You coach. How do you keep kids in the program? Because they're not leaving, and you don't get to play here at Liberty as a freshman, and you have some sophomores playing this year, but it's rare. You have to be pretty good.
Yeah.
How are you keeping those kids around for 4 years once they get to high school?
Yeah, the beauty of how it's set up now, that I get to help at the 5th and 6th grade, and I always say I lose them for a couple years, but then I'm also the freshman coach.
Yeah.
So I coached all these guys that are juniors and seniors as 5th and 6th graders also. So we've got a lot of, there's a lot of retention there because of that, I think, just because of the knowing who should be out for football. But, it's funny, we at 5th and 6th grade level, we had the other night at first practice, we had 16 quarterbacks, come out, and I'm like, well, we need 4, So it's and I don't know if there's a secret to it, but one of them was my kid, and I told him, well, you're going to be center, okay, you know what I mean? And the other one's going to be a guard and a tackle, and I'm like, would you rather be the 3rd string quarterback on our 5th grade team, or do you want to play guard and block? Oh, I want to play. Okay. You know what I mean? It's simple as that. And that might not work for every kid. I'm sure somebody goes home and, is upset about that. But at the same time, we want you on the field. That's what we're trying to get you out there and blocking and tackling and doing all that stuff. That's more fun than, being a 4th string quarterback. So.
Well, I also think they want to be a part of something bigger than them.
Yeah.
You can't, individual sports are awesome. I watch the Olympics, it's fantastic. There's nothing like being with your buddies, doing all the hard stuff, doing all the fun stuff, doing all the winning. It's just, it's infectious, and it's just such a good thing for the youth. And then they get to high school, and now they feel obligated. They need me to be here. Well, you're not a starter. I'm practicing. I'm working against them. Our scout teams at the high school level, that's a big deal. They work at that. That goes competitive periods with scout teams, and it empowers them to feel like they're making a huge difference. I know Baxter Barrett, my son, would come back and, what'd you do on scout team? Well, I got a couple reps on scout team, like as a freshman. It was like, that was a huge, reps on scout team? I mean, really? They cherish those opportunities to do these things in a community, and the culture is so strong now that it almost builds an obligation. I got to be there, man. I can't miss. Like, they can't miss now.
Well, we've got so many kids that we know that they need the program more than we need them. You know what I mean? And I mean, they need to be at our practice. And I mean, there's a lot of them that aren't looking to be out there on a Friday night, but they need to be with something. You know what I mean? It's probably the best part of their day. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you know, and that's probably the way it is at youth practice. Because, I mean, you know, there's kids that might not end up being great football players, but they love it. You know what I mean? They're part of it. You know what I mean? So they get to run through the tunnel twice a year in front of the football team. I mean, that's, you know, the big thing we do. And
huge.
I mean, it's, you know, it's fun.
Lynn, let me give you a quick test, and I know you got to move this thing on, but
No, we got
Tori, and you have to be media, and you have to cover everybody, and you know. What did it mean to you to wear the orange and black? And the older that you get, you know, we have these stories and we have a lot of fun, and it's all good and fun and games, but at the end of the day, when you go home, what does it mean to wear those colors?
Well, I've said to, now you get, this sparks the emotion, because, you know, my path took me out of town. You know what I mean? And I've been on a twisty, windy road, and I haven't always been loved and adored like I used to be. And but I've told my family this: next to marrying my wife and the birth of my children, the most important thing in my life was Liberty Center football, because in essence it shaped the entire rest of my life. Now, the casual listener may say, come on. No, you don't understand. I didn't have a whole lot now. And so I had Liberty Center football, and that was it, and that's what I lived for. And to this day, I can sing the alma mater start to finish, forward and backwards. I'd do it right now. The fight song, Cheer, Cheer for Old Tiger Fame. I can sing that forward and backwards. I had a Liberty Center album. It was a Liberty Center marching band. It had an orange cover. It was a record. And I would play that over and over and over, because the marching band under Larry Line was a big freaking deal.
Unbelievable.
Back then. You know, they do the head choppers. And so next to my marriage and the birth of my children, the most important part of my life was Liberty Center football. 1, 2, and 3. And it'll never change. And the relationships and the memories. And it's something that no one can ever take away. You know, Sean Weimer walked in here a couple Saturdays ago.
Yeah, he did.
I haven't talked to Sean in 10 years. But you know what? We had quite a bond when we played together, and hooked up a few times, and so it meant everything to me, Scotty, and coaching elsewhere and being media. I've never really, truly got to show my true colors, because I've always had to wear different hats and things. But deep inside, I mean, if you cut me, it's orange and black, and I'm super proud of that. And you know, my grandma Strock and my entire family's rooted here. I'm the only one that ever, you know, left the city limits. And my sister Tracy, I mean, I think she thinks if you leave the city limits, the earth falls off. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, her husband Scott talked about when they were building a house, maybe building in Napoleon, because there were some nice areas. And you'd have thought he asked her to move to Nicaragua. I go, Tracy, it's 7 miles down the road. But to her, it was, you know, the French Alps. And so it's everything, man.
You asked earlier why people stay. I think you have your answer.
I mean,
you have your answer.
I mean, that makes me emotional hearing that.
Yeah.
And you remember Lane Thrash that played at Archbold?
I did. Great. I played with him at the Archbold Legion baseball team and loved him.
He had some a teammate that played with him, Ohio Wesleyan, was driving by here 2 weeks ago on the Friday night when you played Napoleon. Driving down 24, they stopped to get some gas and get a drink or whatever. Well, it was the tailgate. They come in here, him and his buddy. They played at St. Ignatius. I think they won a state championship. Is that right?
They did. And his son did.
Yes. Won a state championship at St. Ignatius. Saw this, and they were in awe of what this small town off of 24 had on a Friday night before a football game. They almost went over to the game. I think they were strapped for time a little bit, but they were here for an hour or two. And that tells you something, too. So I texted Lane. I said, well, one of your former teammates from Ohio Wesleyan was here. So he texted me back. Lane lives down in Key West. Guy's name was Ryan Spicer. Played at St. Ignatius and now lives down in Key West with Lane, too. But a guy from St. Ignatius, as rich of a history as any football school in Ohio has, stopped in here and was in awe of what Liberty Center was about.
A Key West dude from Northwest Ohio, it was Lane Thrasher. That brother is Lane Thrasher, Key West, mayor of Key West, right on the tip. He was great. He was a great player. What an athlete, but just a free spirit. I mean, he's one of these guys, kind of hippie, but he was, wow. Lane Thrasher was fantastic.
Well, he watched us, so you better be careful, Scott.
I'm a Lane Thrasher fan. I played with him in the Archbold Legion. He did stuff that, it's like him and Jeff Ross. It's like, those guys did stuff you couldn't even relate to.
No. I'm glad you asked me the last thing you asked me.
Well, I mean,
I appreciate that.
You know, in media, it's hard because you have opinions about lots of things.
Right.
And over the years, it gets hard because you want to have a sound bite, you want to have an opinion, and sometimes you're rooted here, and you got to kind of remember. I think you always have, but I think it's important to note that.
Well, I appreciate that opportunity, Scotty.
You got it.
Boy, I could go on.
I would maybe suggest...
Can you guys come back week 10? I think it'll be a Wednesday night, week 10, whatever that date is in October. Think of something that we can do.
Well, I think you start talking about Nick Miller and Norm Zider and some of the Rick Carey crew, and because there's a lot.
I don't even know what path we're going to go down because we didn't exactly stick with youth football.
I think the other thing to talk about with us is the scholarship.
Yeah, I mean, the Rex and K.
Yeah, we started
Big deal.
the Rex and K scholarship.
2012 when K passed.
2012 in memory of K, obviously, and that comes right out of our fund, but we give it to a multi-sport athlete with certain
criteria.
And back in the day, I mean, that thing all got kicked off with the PH Liberty
the Hamler Men's Club.
I mean, we partnered up with them, and they really
gosh, that first night
pumped that thing. I mean, I don't know how many hot dogs and brats and stuff we sold, but
Hamler Men's Club gave me an envelope on the field. Hated rivals. Hated.
And the rivalry back then was
hated.
It was really going.
Yeah. Hated.
I mean,
they put it on us a bunch. And Dan Brubaker hands me this envelope, and it's full of a bunch of money. He is crying. He's like, this game and these communities are just, you don't think it is, Scott. I'm old enough to tell you this. We're interlocked. Like this is what Liberty Center Youth Football did. It kind of brought that together. Like erased some real darkness a little bit. I think the youth football did that. The K. Lindgren, Rex and K. Lindgren Scott. So I think there's a lot more there, but that was a cool, and we built the whole, that's like a huge part of the legacy of youth football was that. And now we have donors that specifically want to give to that because they believe in what we're doing. So that's a belief, and there's a lot of stories associated with it, but it's pretty cool. And I thank you for doing that because we have talked about youth sports, but like this is a pretty special thing here.
And I hope people that watch this learn something. And you guys aren't, trying to keep your secrets here in Liberty Center.
No trade secrets.
You're trying to build the game of football and build lives for our youth of America. Because football, as you guys know, I don't need to say this, but it teaches everybody a life lesson. And you guys are trying to spearhead that. So kudos to you and everybody that has supported Liberty Center Youth Football. You guys are doing it the right way, obviously. And just thank you guys for growing our sport and building young men and giving some youth something to look forward to, because as we know, some don't have something to look forward to, but football here it's on another level. And thank you guys. We got to get you back. Week 10. Please come back.
You maybe add Normie Zider, Carey Crew, some of those names you guys mentioned, Nick Miller, those guys. And, we had St. Francis here last week,
Yep.
and some of those.
We can do it
and
in
just
segments.
Get a round table and,
4.5 hours.
We would be, because all the names you're mentioning, Todd, that are invested in the youth program, it's unbelievable. And those guys would do this, so, we'll plan for that, and I love it.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah. Scott, Todd, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
It's awesome, guys.
Yeah, that was great. Looking forward to getting you back with some more of the people that have been influential here in Liberty Center. Coach Strock, anything to add?
No, this was a special night for me. Like I said, and Scott, as he does so very well, articulates thoughts and has a way of saying things that maybe some other people would struggle with. But, being in the media and doing some other coaching and stuff, there are certain challenges.
You know what we should do for that week 10? Maybe we get an audience out here and they can throw some questions. You guys?
It'd be a full house.
Are you up for that?
Pretty good.
It'd be a full house.
You up for that?
I'm up for that if Todd's up for that, because
Bring it on, yeah.
he's a counterbalance to the raucousness. He's the professional. He keeps us together, what he does.
We can market that a little bit and get the word out.
I think you would have kind of a game day kind of deal around here. It could be very interesting.
I guarantee it if the word gets out.
Yeah.
Next week on our KK Collision football show, Radio Legends. You guys busy next Monday night? You may want to stop out here. Dave Kleck.
Oh, jeez.
Kenny Stabler and Andy Bringle will be here.
Those are legends. And, Dave Kleck, the velvet voice. Does he get better? He's almost like Frank Sinatra. The way he talks, the way he...
Wish we could have LC here as well. Larry Christie. God rest his soul, man. Another great
Legend.
radio legend from these parts. Marv Sebring as well. Boy, we've been blessed with some great voices. But tune in next Monday night. That will be our KK Collision football show for next Monday. Have a great week. We'll talk to everybody again next week.